Welcome back, everybody, to the Slim Flippers channel. Dave, how you doing, my friend? Thanks for joining me again. I believe we're going to wrap up this learning lesson series.
Doing good, man. Yeah, I think this is probably not the maybe the wrap up, but we may have one more episode after this, and maybe have some other talks because I just love to talk about comics.
Hey, let me shout this out. Check it out.
There we go. Look at you, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
You got to go see the movie, Wes. Yep. It's really, really good. So listen, we talked the past 3 episodes. We've talked a lot of stuff. We talked about why comics, and you got to still find your why. And I know you're still working on it. It's not something.
Still working on my why.
You're still working on your why. You got to learn a little bit about identifying comics. So you got to learn to use your app and to do that a little bit. To look at stuff. We've learned a little bit about protecting comics. Always wrap your comics. Today we're going to talk about the last thing is how do you sell them? Because buying comics is fun. Listen, that's a topic we're going to talk about tonight too. We're going to talk about bigger
as
buys.
much as you're entrenched into comics, I would think you have a hard time selling any of them because I think you love them so much.
Yes, I look at some of these comics and I go, wow, I like this one.
Yeah, I don't want to.
But you know what? So it's kind of funny because in our other podcast we talk about being attached to stuff and there's certain things like I don't have any attachment to items like hardcore items or but comic related items and comics I do have some attachment to it, and we've already talked about that. I've missed some sales because I wouldn't let it go because I was attached to it, but that's something you kind of have to. So listen, I mean, you can be a collector and a reseller. You can be a reseller and a collector. It goes hand in hand. Matter of fact, most people will tell you, and most people will say this that are collectors, that say the way you support your hobby is to sell the stuff that you don't want. Because what happens is a lot of times we buy these great big collections. Maybe you don't always buy them, but listen, you can go out and spend $100 and get 70 comics. And out of those 70 comics, 20% of them are what you're going to make your money back. That's generally what I try to figure in my head. 20% of those comics, I'm going to make my money back on the sale. The rest of them, I'm going to make the profit, or I'm going to find some in there that are for my collection. And, my collection isn't huge. I mean, I know people that have hundreds and hundreds of boxes of their own collection. I just don't. I have the things that I like to collect. There's certain things I like to collect, and it's silly stuff to some people. I love Howard the Duck. I have the Howard the Duck run. I love the Marvel Secret Wars. I have all those. I like the Devil Dinosaur. I like the weird stuff, and I collect those. And I have the Batman Adventures complete series. So so there's just certain things that I like, and that's what I collect. And now I'm collecting Absolute Batman, Absolute Wonder Woman, Absolute Superman, and Absolute Green Arrow. Because I like them and I'm enjoying the reading part. So I think it's whatever appeals to you, but that is the hardest thing, is sometimes to look at it and go, it's hard to let those things go. But, when you buy a collection, you have duplicates, or you have some that you think, well, this is really cool, but do I need it?
The thing for me is you try to do a collection and you miss just that one. So then you have to grab, what is it? A facsimile.
A facsimile, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, and I have a couple placeholders that I'm still looking for. I'm still looking for Secret Wars number 8 because I passed on a couple, but they're a decent copy of a number 8 is going to cost me around $200 to $300, and my goal is to grade them all. So I'm going to have them all graded. But sometimes like I will pass on something like that to buy a bigger collection, because I want to be able to get more comics and be able to sell more and make more. So, but anyway, I think, the hardest thing about is, and this is the first part that we're going to get to, is the hardest thing is to decide, what you want to sell and what you want to keep, or what isn't worth listing by itself. Okay. Because sometimes, and you don't always have to have a run of comics. So let's say you have a bunch of, well, let's just use this for an example. I'm going to bring this one. So I was going through my boxes to the stuff I had to list, and I realized, I have about 20 Venom books. This is a Venom book. Now, you look at this book, it's a cool cover, and the book's good. I've read all the series. Actually, I read all of them online. So I read them on the Marvel app. But this book, it's not worth a lot. It's maybe $5. Okay. I mean, brand new, I think it sold for $4. I think the fair market
that's
value.
The thing, Dave. I mean, the graphics look great on it. And what separates that one from this $50 or $60 book that has comparable graphics to it?
It is the story. It's the content, and it's whether or not that there is anything special about this book. So this is one of those books where I would not sell this in my store because I'm not going to make any money out of it. This is basically a $5 book. Maybe you'd get $5. Now I could sell this in my booth for $4 or $5 and make money on it, which would be great. But this isn't a thing that I would probably sell on eBay because I'm not going to make enough money to be able to do anything. Now, if I have, though, this Venom series, and let's say I have 5, 6, and 7, maybe 8, and I do, I will put them together in a series and I would sell them. And I would list them just like this. I would say 5, 6, and 7, or 5, 6, 7, 8, and I would list all those. And then what will happen is somebody will go, oh, cool, I need 6 and 7. I'll take those 2 because they're better. Maybe they're in better condition, or maybe there's something special about them.
Or they don't feel like they need the other ones or whatever for whatever reason.
Exactly. And you start to kind of get that. And what will happen is you have to kind of make those decisions, whether or not you're going to keep it or sell it, or you're going to bundle it together, or you're going to try and sell it in a different place. Now, again, I'm lucky because I have a different avenue to sell in. I have, my booth, and I have about 1,200 to 1,400 comics in there. And I don't have a ton, but I mean, I have a fairly good amount of them, and I get a lot of sales. We sell quite a few comics out of there every month. And I'm also getting ready to explore selling on Hip Comics, launching a website where I'll probably be doing a Shopify store. I'll probably be listing more on Dibdit. When I get this app done that I'm building, it's actually going to help me list everywhere. So you got to have different avenues, and there are places you can sell them that are probably better, that you can do better. eBay is great for selling, to my opinion, $10 or more comics. And the only reason why is because I can justify the shipping and the cost and everything. So I can still, my goal is I'm only going to pay a couple bucks for a comic or less. That's my goal. When I buy a big collection, I'm wanting to pay a lot less. The collection that I'm reviewing right now, I'm looking at about $1 a comic. But these are.
So is that comparatively, like on a short box, that's what you would pay? And then considering a longer box, is it the same price, or are you looking at a smaller number on that?
When I look at, and we'll talk a little bit more about buying in bundles, but I look at a price per item. That's kind of where I get to. So I've done several of these buys. And what I'll do is, like, for instance, I had a guy that popped something on Facebook, and he had 3 long boxes full. There was about 170 comics in each of the box. And I think he wanted 400 or 500. I can't remember. When I started to look at the price for a comic, it was actually less than $1 a comic. So it was over 500 comics. It was 700 comics is what it was. Okay. And so when I started looking at that, I go $500 in the back of my head. And he pulled out a few comics in the pictures, and just a few that I saw, I was like, I can sell that. I can sell that. I can sell that. And he said, there were no major keys in there, but there were some keys. And then there's a lot of minor keys. But he needed the money, and I had $500. I said, okay, no problem. I looked at it as a price per comic. So my look at it is, I say, okay, if I'm spending less than $1 a comic on a buy like that, where I don't know exactly what's in there, but I know there's a few in there and I can see it, I'm still at less than $1 a comic. I probably would buy them. And the reason why is because I know I can sell them on Dibdit, on my auctions. I can sell them in the booth. I can get at least $1 out of them in the booth. And a lot of times, mostly time, $2 out of the booth, because I sell them. I give away 1 for every 5 they buy. So I can make the money back on that. And that's how I kind of look at it. Other buys where you look at it is where they might give you a curated list and say, these are all the comics I have, and this is the value of those comics. And again, those values are, whatever app you have them in, or whatever price they're set at, that's kind of what they are. We call it that fair market value. So a fair market value on a comic might be $20, but I don't want to pay $20 for it because I have no room for any kind of, right, for any kind of sale on it. So I'm typically at about 30%. And that sounds low to some people, and they might say, oh, that's crazy. From a reseller standpoint, I'm at 30%. If I was a collector, it might be a little higher. I wouldn't pay 20 for it. I'd still try to get it to like 70 or 60%. But that's because I'm collecting it. And I'm trying to negotiate with somebody to be able to get a absolute Batman #1 first print. And he's agreed to sell it to me for $200. That's lower than the fair market value, but I'm not reselling it. It's for my collection, but I paid more for it than I probably wanted to.
Right.
He got it for $4.99. So $4.99. It's, so there's a difference when you're trying to buy a big bundle of comics, or you're trying to buy a big collection. You really got to think about the price per comic. And that's where I'm always at. I'm always at that price per comic. I want to see what I'm paying. When I bought I call it the Slippy Connection because his name is Slippy. It's Slippy Toys. Anyway, but I call it the Slippy Collection. But I paid $2,000 for that comics collection. And it was right at about, it was just under 1,500 units. And I say units because there were also graded comics in there. There were almost 30-something graded comics.
Oh, okay.
And just on the graded comics, so I knew what the graded comics were because he gave me a list. And I actually went through and figured out the fair market value on those graded comics and said, okay, based on just the graded comics, I knew I can make $1,800 roughly if I sold them, and I have. So, and then the rest of them were gravy. And to be honest with you, he had a lot of, I will call them mature comics in there. I made over $2,000 on those comics. So I made my money back and some, plus with the stuff with graded. So it just depends on what you're looking at. So, but those.
So Dave, let me ask you this question real quick. You're not going to sit there and flip through every single comment in there because it take you all day and then some.
Yeah.
So like you said, you kind of spot check it and you look through, I guess, here and there. I'm assuming that they absolutely have to be bagged and boarded for you to even bring up that kind of money, correct?
That kind of money, yes, but not always. I have
not always, but I'm just saying that's a nice chunk of change,
right? And
I would think that if you had comics that are just sitting on top of each other in a bundle, that's going to be hard to loosen up that money.
It is. And I would be a lot less. So look, I mean, and really and truly, it doesn't mean that the comics are bad. I mean, I've bought comics before that were not bagged and boarded because they were just in a huge pile in a bag, but I knew there were some good comics in there, and that was at garage sales, right? So not always they have them. Sometimes they stack them up, they'll stand them up and they'll be all not bagged and boarded, and you'll look at them and go, okay. But you're flipping through them and you're going, okay, there's a bunch of Spider-Man, there's some Wolverine, there's some different ones that I recognize that I know that are Silver Age or Bronze Age comics in there, and I go, okay, I know those are good. I'm willing to pay for them, but you're right. I'm going to negotiate as far down as I can because I know for a fact that I'm going to have to bag and board every one of these. There's a good chance that I might have to press some of them if they're of a key or a minor key that before I can sell them. So there's amount of work that's in there too. So you have to kind of look at it and say, this is what I got to do. It takes a little bit of time to bag and board comics. Okay. I mean, it's not something you do easily and fast. I mean, you can, but you have to be careful. You have to do that. And there is a cost to it. I mean, it's not a lot. I mean, I don't have very much invested in bags and boards. If I buy 1,000 at a time, I think it's I think I pay about $100, maybe $110 for 1,000 bags and boards. So what is that? 10 cents, less than 10 cents a piece, somewhere in there. I don't know. So it's not very much, or is it even less than that? But anyway, math is hard. But again, that's kind of where you have to kind of start playing with this and what would you do? So getting back to what you would sell though, when there's certain things like I showed you, I would be very much like would I sell it or would I try to keep it? Again, here's another one. This is X Corp variants. This is a variant edition from X Corp. All right, cool cover, very cool cover. It's a store exclusive. So these are store exclusives, and it doesn't mean anything great about it. It just means that whatever store was selling it is exclusive to that store. But this comic's worth $5 or $6. It's not worth a ton of money. So again, I would be looking at that going, okay, if I had other ones, I only have one of those. So the good chance that I'm probably going to sell that in my booth because, or at an auction, because I don't really have a place that I want to sell it.
And like you said, that's a nice luxury to have. You can move it to the booth.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a nice place to do it, or auctions. I mean, that's the other thing. Now this one looks like it should be something. You see the, yeah. Okay. Sorry. The glare. You see that comic? Okay. So this one is actually a exclusive from a con. So it is the Emerald City Comic Con. So ECC, ECCC. Emerald City Comic Con, ECCC, 3C. Anyway, so it is an exclusive from 2019. You would think that this would be worth more, and it's Hot Shots. And it is actually one of my favorite characters, by the way. That is Domino. She's the luckiest mutant there is. Her special skill is luck.
Wow.
Incredible martial arts and everything else. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, you would think this would be worth much, but you know what? It's $5 to $6. So, but it is an exclusive, and those are the kind of things you have to look at to say, okay, is this? Oops, there we go. Okay, it's a number one, and it's an exclusive, and does that mean that it's worth more? It doesn't always mean that it's worth more.
Will it be worth more in 5 years, 10 years?
That's that's the game you play with comics.
Do you have enough time to hang on to it?
That's the game you play with comics, and it goes back to the sit on it forever. No. Do I think it's going to happen? No. So if Domino gets her own movie, maybe that's not going to happen. All right. Or
you got to have a lot of extenuating circumstances to push things, I would think.
Just to push something like that. So here's another thing. Here's another one, but this is a store exclusive as well. I can't remember which one this is. This is Fall of X, House of X #4, and it is a store exclusive, but there's a little caveat on this one. You see that it's signed, right? So it was actually signed by Care Andrews. So this one is a store exclusive. It is signed, has a COA. So this would be a book that I will probably sell on eBay. Now, it's not a book that I want. Not that I don't think it's a cool cover. You got Wolverine, you got Beast on there, you got Phoenix, you got my favorite, Psylocke. So, but you got all kinds of, you even got, I think, Jesus, that's that. Oh my gosh, you got Angel back there. You got all kinds of them. Okay. So you got a ton of people on this, and it's cool. But it's $20 at least because of the signature. Now, if you sent it in and get it graded, that's the other thing. We can talk about that sometime about grading comics. That is not definitely something you're not ready for that.
No, I'm not ready for that.
And when you're ready for that,
comic book store.
Yeah, when you're ready for that, let me know.
I took a look at it and I turned and went this way. I was like, yeah, I'm not ready.
You're just not ready. You can send this in, but the problem with sending this in, it's roughly 20. For me, it's about $27 to grade a book, just to grade it. But to get the graded with the signature, it's another $25 for me to get it graded. So to grade this book, it would be around $55 with the shipping and everything. It's probably not worth that. I mean, Care Andrews is it's cool, but it's not probably something that I would grade. So when we start kind of looking at would I list on eBay, that is definitely one I would list on eBay. All right, here's another one. My favorite. This is Power Girl. You see this? It's shiny. Mm-hmm. This is a foil. All right, so again, though, you would think, oh, cool, shiny foil. This would be awesome. $6 to $10. So doesn't make it anything special. I mean, this is an issue #1, though, which is cool. So this was like the first of her new launch of the Dawn of DC when they did this. But it is cool. It's a cool cover. Now, this is one of those ones because I'm a Power Girl fan. I might keep this one. This one might stay in my collection.
It may end up on your shelf one night. Who knows?
It may. Now, is it worth grading? No, it's not worth grading. So we're going to look at a couple more here, man. All right. This is another store exclusive. Nothing special about it. X of Swords number. I think this is a variant edition. I don't even know if it's #1. It might be. Yeah, it could be. Nope, this is part 11 of 22. So this is actually a later copy, but it is a store exclusive. Again, this comic's worth $5 to $8. So it may not be an eBay sale for me. It probably will be either a Did-It sale, or if I find some other X of Swords, I'll put it with that. So as we kind of go along, you kind of see this is the same thing. Again, this is a Land Before Crime Venom book. I would probably put it with the other Venom books. It's not expensive books, $5. And then you start looking at other store exclusives. Let's see. Here we go. This is an exclusive. I can't remember why even. I don't know if it was a store exclusive or this was a, I'll tell you why. Hold on. This is another exclusive. Okay. So this was a Kendrick Lim variant cover presented by the Comic Kingdom of Canada. So this is a Canadian book from the north of the border. Anyway, yeah, look at that. That's kind of cool. Actually, I didn't even know that's what this was. So maybe that makes it a little bit more. So there's some variants that are actually more valuable because they're Canadian variants. But this is Wonder Girl #1. And again, it's a variant. I mean, on eBay, it's maybe $8 to $10. But I mean, it's a cool cover. So again, it might be one I keep. And then last but not least, we have this one. This is another exclusive. It's not a key, and that's the hardest thing is like finding stuff. It's not a key. This one is Grading Comics Elite Auctions. It's just another Comics Elite Auctions. It's Deceased. It's Wonder Woman, and this is issue number 5. Again, nothing really special about this other than the fact that it's what they would call a store exclusive. Honestly, in my opinion, I mean, if you're a big enough comic dealer, store exclusives aren't that big a deal. I mean, you basically commission a book and you're the only person that carries it. Unknown Comics, 616 Comics, Third Eye Comics. I'm just thinking of a whole bunch of them that have Things from Another World used to do some. There's probably 1,000 more that I'm not thinking of. Something I can't remember what they call them, but they all have exclusives. So you have to be really, really careful about that. Right. And then you have to look at what print number. So everybody gets excited. So this is the collection that I keep telling you about, but this is the Batman number 15, right? This, although it looks cool and this is great, and it's a fantastic read. So anybody that hasn't read Absolute Batman yet, you need to read Absolute Batman. But this is a third printing. And you can tell sometimes by where it's at, but if you look down in the indice or if you look on it actually says third printing down there. This book's worth $8, maybe $8, $5 to $8, if that.
But if you had the first printing of that book,
about 15. Not a lot more, but it would work more.
Eventually, though, those probably will rise since it's tied to Batman.
It depends. And see, that's the other thing we kind of talk about is whether or not scarcity, number of issues and different things like that. That's the biggest thing. So, but you know, when I was trying to kind of make it point is there's variants and there's store exclusives, and then there's numbered comics. And I didn't bring any of those, but I have some that are numbered, and they're usually numbered like 1 to 100, 1 to 2, 3, 4, 500, or 1,500, or 1,000. Actually, I have one. Can I grab it?
Yeah. So
last but not least, there are numbered comics. Now, nothing special about this one. This is Wolverine, Mandrapo Nights. This is issue number 1. It's one of the variant covers. But what's cool about this one is that it is a limited cover. It's limited to 1,500. So that means only 1,500 of these books exist. Now, 1,500 is a big number.
Yeah.
So some of the stuff that I've been selling a lot of and I've done very well with, that big collection I bought, they were limited to like 20, limited to 25 to maybe 50. So the smaller the number, the more value that you're getting on it. All right. So those are some of the books I would think about what I was doing, but let's talk about listing them. And that's where we're kind of getting to, because at some point you either want to list them, sell them, or do something. And I think maybe in the very beginning, one of the things that you and I will do a lot of is maybe we'll do some auctions together, because that's fun. But
it is fun. We like it.
It is fun. And honestly, again, anybody that's watching this, if you have not ever gone over to dibdit.com, it's a family over there. Listen, guys, Whatnot is great. I used to sell on Whatnot. I may go back to selling on Whatnot if I buy this collection we'll talk about in a little bit. But I may sell on both. But it just, Dib is fun, and you can pick up really good comics for a good value, and it's just fun. It's just
I like the fact that you and I can both sell together.
Yeah.
And
it's a family.
Do it live, and we can just keep rolling with it. That's why I like it.
Exactly. So, but you know, eventually the point is you want to do list some on on eBay or wherever you're going to list them at. Now, one of the things that I'll probably kind of show you how I do, but this is what's important. I think when you're listing a comic, and you know, you got to think about what is somebody looking for. So if somebody was looking for Wolverine Madripoor, I can't even say it right. Madripoor Knights, it's Knints or King. Anyway, it's Knights, like Knight of Armor. If anybody was looking for this book, the first thing they're going to look at is Wolverine. They're going to actually type in the name in the series, and they're going to type in issue number 1. It's just going to be a 1 or a number sign 1. That's what they're going to look for. So that's the first thing that's always in every listing. It's the first thing in all my listing. It is the book title, the name, if there's anything special about it, and the issue number, period. And then there's other stuff that I would put in there. Publisher when it's helpful. I mean, Marvel's Marvel, but if it's a variant, that's going to be put in there. If it's a first printing, if that's important, I would put that in there. If there's an artist that did this, that's, you know, the name is very recognizable, I would probably put that in there. And if it's a key, I would put that in the listing as well. I would say key, or I put first appearance or first APP, you know, whatever. So I think if you were looking for a specific comic, I mean, what would you look for?
I would start with the character's name, I guess, like Batman or Green Lantern or.
Okay. And that's one of the things that you have to have in there. So, yeah. And that's the important information. And I mean, so the title, in my opinion, is the most important thing. The things that I would avoid on a title, and it drives me crazy. Rare, hot, investment, must have, stars, you know, all those things that we talk about.
Leave all that out, because
everything that we've ever talked about, we do not. It's just not important. And the other thing is what most people don't think about is the description. And I'm a firm believer that, well, first of all, it's not even a firm belief. It is a fact that your description is part of your SEO, your search engine optimization for your listing, right? So on Google, you're going to be easier found if you have the right keywords in your description. So I typically, when I go into I make sure that my description has the information, has the title, has what it is. And, you know, I don't put like awesome or super rare. I don't put all that junk in there. And I actually write it for the buyer and not, I also write it for the buyer, but not for the algorithm, right? I want to make sure they understand what book they're getting, and especially about conditions. So I'm going to try and show you real quick.
Okay.
See if we can share my screen here. Okay, so this is one of the listings. I'll show you an example. This is an older Charlton Comics. Not the most expensive book in the world, but the Flintstones, they're cool. Yeah. So, and I love their books. But, you know, Charlton Comics is way back. I mean, this is a 15-cent comic. So
Hanna-Barbera production.
Yes, exactly. And so, but the most important stuff's in there. Here it is. Flintstones #6, Charlton Comics. I got the name. 1971, Fred Barney Pebbles. The most important characters in there, and then Hanna-Barbera comic. I mean, it's just that simple. So it gets the right kind of information. And then as far as my description, I have, and this is something I will, I will stand by. I have 3 levels of a comic. I have low grade, mid grade, and high grade. Okay. In my opinion, a high grade is anywhere, 8.5 or above, 9 or above, somewhere in there. It's mostly a really good comic. A high grade would be like very few, if any, defects. I rarely ever say near mint. I never say near mint because I don't ever believe that I want somebody else to, I'd rather undersell it and get it to them so they feel better. So, but like This would be, good to very good condition. It has some signs of, wear and stuff, obviously some chipping if you look at it. And then as far as photographs go, and this is what's important, and I have changed it. So this has changed since I've done this. I do front, I do back, I do inside.
Oh, look, go back real quick. The first homeschool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Finished high school home. 1971, they were going to school. But I do the front, I do the back. And then see these pictures when you think about it, so people can click on it. If you click on it and go bigger, obviously, you can go in and zoom in. Well, yeah, something's wrong with my laptop. Oh, there it goes. You can zoom in and see there's an issue there. You got a little corner wear there. You got some little bit of foxing, colored, some dirt, another care there. So I do this because I want people to have good pictures. But then I also take a picture of this, and this is what I want people to be able to read this, to see the date so they can see information. I also take pictures of inside if there was an issue, like this one has a couple pages that were separated, and then this, and then the back is always that's my filing system, 4696, and I know where this goes. And then down below, you can see that I have that information. I have about the comic. So again, it's just the Flintstones and Pebbles, number 6, William Barber. It's just very simple stuff. Just an outline of, bullet points of the most important stuff about this. Is the Bronze Age comic, is 1971, the important characters in there. And then I have a kind of a set kind of information at the bottom that I have. So, and this is what I talk about, that I combine shipping and all that stuff. It's a very simple one. Here's another one. Okay, that's a graded one. Let's do this one. Here's another one. Again, Spider-Woman. You can kind of see sometimes if it's especially a one like this, which just is kind of a signed variant, I'll take a few more pictures of it just to kind of show a little bit more on it. And I'll show the inside, the certificate of authenticity, kind of show that all together. I'll take more pictures when it's warranted. Okay. But again, Spider-Woman #1, Dynamic Forces, signed variant, COA, Marvel Authentics Limited. Again, this is a good to very good condition. I'm trying to undersell it. Describe it because you can look at it and see it's good. And then here's the information again, just very simple. This is one of the older ones. I have more information now on my bottom. Here's another older one. This is a 25-cent comic, Fantastic Four. Again, name is always first and foremost. Age, Bronze Age, the Crusader appearance, mid-grade. So this is kind of I think it's a minor key. I do take pictures. I do show, like you see this one right here. I actually took a little take note. I wanted to make sure they saw that. If I have those little things that, I put on there, if it's something that's very obvious, I want them to see it, or it's really hard to see.
I like that. That's neat.
Yeah. So, and I will show like, here's another issue right there, but I want them to see what they're getting. Now, a lot of people, again, this may not be somebody who is they're not buying this comic to grade it. They're buying this comic because they need it in their run. And I want them to know what they're getting. Right. And this one I actually have acceptable. It's acceptable to good, which is the low grade, which that makes sense. Again, the information is just basic information and stuff that's there. Let's look at one more. This one is a newer one. It's a variant. You can see that I've a lot of pictures again. Want to make sure that we see all the corners and the edges and the backs. So I've changed a little bit of what I do. One of the things I'll tell you is this, like, this is a newer book. I don't need to take this many pictures. And if you're taking pictures, you see this is a newer book. There are really no issues. The only issue I might have seen would be there's a little bit of wear. This is a very typical place to get wear on a book, right here in this corner. And then the edge wear, but there are no ticks. A lot of times what will happen is like the corners get banged a little bit, or they get kind of creased.
That can happen even in shipping, right, Dave?
You can. Like, this could actually have happened when it was sent. So when these books are sent to the comic book store, they're not bagged and boarded, just free. They're wrapped. But they're not bagged and boarded. So this happens a lot in transport. But now I take one picture. I take one picture of the back. And then now I do the inside still. I always do the inside because I want them to see all the details of the book. That's the inside one. And then typically I'll do a center shot of the book, or somewhere in the center you see the staples. So I want them to see that. And then I always take a picture of the back with a number because I know what number it is. Now,
there's definitely no rust on the staples there yet.
Yeah, none of those. None of those. But, and then what I've added now to what I do is I actually lay the book. I lay the book like this on the table, and I take a picture of the spine so that you can see the actual spine on the book. And there's a reason for that. It's because, the spine ticks are the biggest issue they have on the books. So I'll take a picture of that. And again, this book though, it should be like good to like new. I mean, it's a high grade. And again, the information, just the basic information, but I wanted to get this book's been up here for a while. Let me tell you how long this has been up here. All right. So this is my SKU system. This is where the book is located. This is where I bought it, when I bought it, August 24. This is what I got it for. And I bought it on Whatnot and got it for $3. So, and then that's the date that it was last listed.
So you've had it 2 years?
Yeah. So you can guarantee that I probably have relisted this book a couple times at least. But it's not going anywhere. It's not hurting anything. And this is one of those books. Somebody's going to come along at some point and go, oh my God, I need the Star Wars High Republic #4 from Tyler Kirkham.
I need that.
So
I got to have it.
Right.
I got to have it.
I got to have it. I got to have it. That's what I got to
have it.
All right. So it's very simple. Again, this is not rocket science, right? I mean, you know, when I look at this and I have all these different ones, it's not rocket science how to do these. But my biggest thing I can tell you is book name, issue name, anything that's important. You got 80 characters, use as much of it as you can in the listing, period. And then inside the item specifics, as much information as you can put in there, or the description as well, that, you know, that's what you're looking for. I mean, this one, again, this isn't a key book, but it's cool as heck. Right. So, I mean, it literally is a drawn book. I mean, it is cool. So anyway, no one's wanted it yet. And see, this was listed in July of 25. And again, I bought this actually off of Dibbed It, believe it or not. So picked it up for $3. So,
well, see, they can go over to Breeze Flippers.
Yeah, you can go.
You all can find Dave's stuff over there.
You can find a lot of good stuff over there.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I will tell you is that I do have, and I use templates. So if I was to list something new, let me see. I'll create a listing real quick. Well, I'm just going to click in a draft. This one looks dirty, but it's not. This is actually an Archie comic. So it's the Valentine's comic. So anyway, this is Betty and Veronica, but it's Archie. But anyway, it's pretty. I love this book. But one of the things that I do is I use I do have what is called a template. I'm going to show you because I'm going to delete it, but I'm going to undo it. So, all right. So X. All right. So I have a lot of custom templates set up. Mm-hmm. Now, if I want to go in and just kind of list comics, one of the things I can do is
just what for speed. So you can,
for speed, I can go in and say, okay, insert. So I can put this in here, and that information is already in there. And all I got to do is paste what I just put in there, and I can put that, and it's at the end. Although now it's kind of doubled, so I'm going to change it up. But so you can use templates. Custom templates are great. You can kind of set them up. You can see I've got a bunch of ones that I've done. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing that I do on the custom templates is that I want the text to be the same at the end. I want people to know I combine shipping. I want them to know about the condition, the descriptions, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, this is kind of one of the ones that I actually listed today, and I haven't gotten a chance to put it up live yet because I got to go through and do some stuff. But this is definitely one of those things where it makes it a little bit easier. You can see all these are drafts that I've been working on. I did a lot of drafting today. So, but all right. So now those are just plain books, and these are regular ones. Like now, the other ones that you may ever get to are CGC books. And I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute and go back to this. So, all right. So I have a lot of graded books. And one of the things that you look at on graded books, there's a million different things you look at on graded books. But a graded book, one of the cool things about graded books is that it's hard to see. It's set, right? I didn't give them this score. This score is given by CGC, and CGC said this book is a 9.8. When you're looking at a graded book, it obviously tells you about this. This is a Chris Claremont story, Jim Lee and Scott Williams cover art. Okay. It is it's a New Mutants and X Factor appearance, and then it's all these different people in there. You got Punisher, you got Wolverine, you got She-Hulk, you got, oh my God, this is tons. Reed Richards. There's all kinds of people in this book. This is a key. But these are different, okay? And they're a lot harder to, a couple things. First of all, you can see how hard it is right here. I can't even get you see what I'm saying, the glare? And you know what's really hard? You can see yourself in these books. There's glare on them. They're common. There's a lot of things that are on this book. But the cool thing about it is there's this. First of all, it's got a barcode. You can scan this and actually get the information. It's got a QR code in the back where you can actually scan it and see if there are any defects or any information about the book. Cool. You can verify these, okay? This is a book I actually had graded, I believe. Yes, this is one book I actually had graded. I had this one graded, and it came out a 9.8, which I thought was cool. So listing these books are a little bit different. If you find these books, I mean, again, you're not ready to probably send off any books. You may find a book someday that you want to send off. Cool. Like,
well, I have the Absolute Batman 11th edition. That's about all I got right now. So
this book, okay, so this is a there are 14 books in the Spider-Man, I think 14 or 16. Let me think. Maybe 12. I can't remember. I think there's 14. I got to go back. I have the entire run, and it's called the Maximum Carnage series, and this is number 1. So as at one point I wanted to grade the major keys in this, and this was the first one. So I got a 9.6. A 9.6 isn't a fail. A 9.6 means that it was almost a 9 point. It was good. It was good enough, but it had a few defects. So if you would scan this in the back, you would actually see what the defects were. Now I could crack this and fix it and try to rescan it and get it again, but a 9.6 is fine. But the difference between a 9.6 and a let me go here, a 9.6 in this book and a 9.8 is not that much. $65 fair market value for a 9.8 and $42 for a 9.6. Now that doesn't mean that's what it's selling for right now, but that's what the fair market is.
Right.
So it could sell for much more, a little more, but this book isn't, I don't even know if I even have this book for sale, to be honest with you, because I have the whole series and I wanted the whole series. So it's one of those situations where I can grade this book and sell this book with the entire series and get about $50 more. So if I sell the entire series and I say I want to sell to all 14 books, I can maybe ask $175, $180 for it, which is probably what I'm going to do. Or I can get a couple others graded. But taking pictures and doing those are a whole different thing. So I'm going to share my screen again. We're going to go over here and share this one. All right. So I want to show real quick how, taking pictures of these are a little bit tougher. It's like, here's one I took of Venom. This one is, again, I try to show a little bit more on it. And I try to do more, just show the different angles. The hard part about these books is that this is it right here. You see that? You can hardly take a picture of it without.
Oh, yeah. I see your glare.
Okay, so I have learned a few tricks like this one. I actually learned a few tricks about putting this at a different angle and doing it with a little different background so I have less glare. So you can see that this one actually is a lot different. And then I posted that information. So this is a Garth Ennis, this is War Stories, kind of an interesting book. It's all nose art from aircraft, but it's a war story. So it's kind of cool. So you can do that. It's a little bit tougher, but one of the most important things, again, it's set. War Stories, CGC 9.6, white pages. That says it's white pages, which is important. And then the name and the good girl nose art and the most important stuff on there. And then, of course, again, the information down here and the CGC certification so that people can look it up, which is also in the item specifics. Okay. So cool. That's listing. So in a nutshell, that's listing in a nutshell. And
no problem.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing about that. And then, we try to make sure that we our standard condition statements, the things that I kind of put in there are very standard. That's something I can kind of go over with you on sometime, or you can look at, or you can just go in there and look at my listings and see what I say. But to me, that's the hardest part. Yeah, that's almost the hardest part is getting the listing right, making sure it's right, and making sure it's that. The last part about it,
I am looking forward to putting my first listing up. I'm gonna try some of those that I purchased. So I may have to get you to help me with my very first one or two.
Well, some of those ones that you bought would be great in a run. Like
Right.
you put up, 1 through whatever, or 2 through.
I got
or 3
2 through 12 on the 99, whatever it is.
Yeah, and you could try listing those 2 through 12, and you would probably do okay with them. But again, listing them is one thing, selling was another. Once you sell them, that's the biggest thing. Now, I'm not going to go through this because, again, this is too much time and effort, and we're not going to get all this tonight. But I do want to talk about the things you will need. This is called a Gemini mailer. There we go. Okay. Can't see it. All right. This is a Gemini mailer. The Gemini mailers are very simple. What's cool about them is that they work like this. You twist, turn, and it becomes a book. You lay the book on here and you do this, and it basically turns into a little box. Okay. And what I do now is when I do sell a comic, I actually take this comic, I take a clean bag and board. I take a board. Now I have a lot of these because I take them out of old comics and I put it in new bags and boards. I tape it to this so that I take this and I tape it to this so that it becomes one piece.
So it's front and back of board.
Yep. And then I take this piece and I take a board that goes inside here. I tape this together so it becomes this, and that's what goes in the Gemini mailer. And that's as simple as it gets. You fold the mailer up, you put 2 pieces of tape over it, and you do it. For graded comics, it's a little different. This is a graded comic mailer. Graded comic goes in right here. This kind of flips up and it closes down over it. You put, again, this over the top of one. You fold that up, tighten it up, and then this goes into an 18-inch bubble mailer. Simple as that. And again, I can go into a lot more detail. And then this little jewel right here is a 12 by 8 by 2 box. And it basically is a 2-inch box. It is perfect if you sell 5, 6, or 8 books. Now, a Gemini mailer, you could put 12 books in it. I wouldn't recommend it. If you put 12 books in it, you need to put it in an envelope as well, a bubble envelope. Right. So, but that's one of the things you kind of look at to learn how to ship it. All right. The last thing I want to talk about is buying collections. And we kind of talked a little bit about it, and that's really quick. I will tell you that the biggest thing is when you look at it, and my goal for you this week is I want you to evaluate some collections on Facebook. I want you to see if you can find something, and not for a lot of money, under $100. And
I have been looking already. I've been taking some tours of it, and it can get overwhelming. I mean, if you look at it, it's a lot.
I'm gonna give you my sure secret method, though.
Okay.
It's AI. So download the pictures, put them in AI, and say, identify these comics for me. And then it'll identify all the comics. And then you just say, are these worth anything? And that's one of the things. I'm going through the process right now of negotiating with somebody. I have already bought 1 box from them. I just bought 2 more boxes from them, and he wants to sell me his entire collection. And it's all these books that some of these books I showed you tonight. He wants $8,000, and it's about 7,000 books, and there's about 150 graded books in there. And I'm looking at it because the cost for me, shipping and everything, I'm not going to pay $8,000. I'm looking at maybe offering him $7,000 plus shipping. Shipping is going to be about $800 because he's in Washington State. Mm-hmm. He has that many more. He has 45 short boxes of comics, and these are all either graded or COAs, signatures. He's got store exclusives, number ones of 20, 1 of 50s. These are some amazing books that he has. So I'm going through that process right now, trying to figure this out, because he's probably going to want somewhere in the vicinity of 12 to 14,000 for all of them. So this is the thing, though, is that, that's a job. Yeah. But I estimated out what the value would be if I did the $8,000 one and I buy half of them. I'm looking at about $18,000 to $24,000 because I've already reviewed some of the stuff that he has in there. So what I guess I'd tell you the challenge is that to go and start looking at some of these collections that you're seeing, you have a lot more opportunity up there than I do. and go up there and take a look. So your homework this week is to kind of take a look at a couple things. One, I want you to kind of prepare your first listing. Okay, let's see what you can come up with. And then two, I want you to evaluate a few possible collections that are under, let's make it a number that's under $200.
Okay.
Evaluate them. Take the pictures, look at them, see what you can think, and then let's go from there. And then next week when we come back, we'll see what you come up with. You bring them back because you're talking next week. So anyway, so that's kind of it in a nutshell, man. We talked a little bit about comics. We talked about shipping. We talked about listings. Take what you kind of learned a little bit here and go back and do some of that this week and see what you can come up with.
We'll do it.
And anybody that has questions, again, I'm not the world's most creative, the biggest expert on comics, but I've been doing this for almost 4 years now. I've really gotten into collecting. I've really gotten into buying comics and selling. And honestly, I love it. And you can come over and check my channel out at Breeze Flippers. And we talk a lot about comics. I got a couple of good shows. Every Thursday, I do a top comics. I talk about the top 20 comics on cover price and the top 20 comics that are trending. So we talk about what's selling, what's coming, so you kind of know what to look for out there. So come over and check us out. So,
well, Dave, one thing I do have, if you look at my logo up there now, I am a comic. So
I saw that. Look at that. Look at that. You and your wife, man. That's awesome.
Not too shabby. That comic book is coming to you at a store real soon.
Coming soon, man. Coming soon. So next week, let's see what you come up with.
Dave, thanks so much again for joining us on the Slim Flippers. We appreciate your time, my friend,
Thanks.
and we will talk soon.
Talk soon, man. Thanks.